We keep an eye on the Republican primaries that are happening across the country. From what I can tell, all they have to say is Biden bad, and they seem to be doing okay. But in terms of how they're actually faring in terms against other Republicans, it's only about one thing, Krystal. Did Trump win the election or not? And if you want to hear the most clown face interview of your life, Hugh Hewitt, a conservative radio host here in Washington, interviewing Josh Mandel, who may be one of the dumbest human beings alive. A previous, APAC, Club for Growth, hardcore conservative who's reinvented himself into some America First warrior with a fake Southern accent, to be clear. Just take a listen to this interview. It's true clown fest.
Did President Biden win the constitutional majority in the Electoral College? If yes, how definitive is your conclusion? If no, please explain which states you think are in dispute and why.
I do not believe he won. I think Trump won. I think Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, all of those states need to be fully investigated, and none of them have. It's the Democrats are fighting it tooth and nail, and my question is, if you're afraid of investigation, if you're afraid of transparency, what do you have to hide? What is it that you have to hide?
Josh, there is no evidence for that has been adduced in a court of law. Am I not correct?
Well, there hasn't been investigations, Hugh. I mean that's the reality is there have not been audits, and so I believe from a multitude of conversations I've had with people in those states about what was going on in the mail-in ballots, what was going on in the early voting periods, what was going on with ballots miraculously appearing after the polls closed. And let's investigate it. And so I believe...
Josh, let me. Now I am going to push back because you're a friend and you've been on this show for many, many years. If you set up a precedent of enough people complain about election, we will have an audit wherever people complain in the absence of adduced evidence between the election and the certification. Every election in every state for every office will be called into question, and no one will ever believe. It's a profoundly delegitimizing and destabilizing proposition you're putting forward. Are you aware of how destabilizing and delegitimizing it is?
Well, I'm not calling for doing it in every precinct in every state in the union, but in many, many of these states where Biden, where the media reported that Biden won, there has been so many reports of nefarious activity, and I think it's worth investigating.
But because of the audits, and let me just, lick Trump's feet even more. And I'm being, PG rated whenever I'm saying this. It's just it's embarrassing. But yeah, this is what you got to do. You want to win. You want to win the Republican primary. You got to slavishly, be Trump's boy. Here's the thing. Latest poll shows Josh Mandel over J.D. Vance, who, full disclosure, a personal friend of mine, is over him like 21% in Trafalgar, granted. But they did okay
in
they 2020.
were actually more accurate.
Yeah, Josh has 21%. He's leading the polls. He's all over, the news, being like America First and all this other stuff. So I don't know what to say, Krystal. This is the whole Republican Party.
This is it.
Let nobody fool you. This is who it is. This is what it's all about.
Yeah. No, and I mean the whole thing is so pathetic.
Oh, it's sad, man.
And this is what's even sadder is he's not a stupid person. He's a highly educated person.
Yes.
Who's just lying to you. Right. I mean, that's what's really going on here, which is why I have so much more contempt for people like him and all the others. Josh Hawley wanted to do, intellectual version of Stop that. What did you call it?
High IQ Stop.
High IQ Stop the Steal. You know better. You know that you're full of it. And we really carefully looked into this stuff at the time.
Yeah.
Because we understood that, people had concerns and that they'd been fed, a lot of false information from people that they trusted. And so we went and looked through all the lawsuits, and not just on the process grounds that got dismissed, but what was actually being alleged. And it was never enough. They can never offer even enough claims to provide the votes to overturn an election in any of these states. I mean, there just wasn't any there. And you can hear, I listened to this whole interview, it's like 12 minutes long. Hugh pushes him repeatedly, and we're not big Hugh fans, but he does a pretty good job here. He pushes him repeatedly on, give me specifics. What are the states?
They don't have
What are the precincts? Yeah. What do you think happened? And all he can say is basically, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I talked to some people. They had some concerns. Come on. At this point in the process, this far into the future that you can't point to a single particular thing that you can prove out, give me a break. And so that's what's so disgusting about this is it is yet another betrayal of our elite class and regular citizens because he thinks this is all he cares about is getting himself into office and whatever lies he has to tell, however much debasement he has to do of himself, he's willing to do it in order to get the prize.
Listen, I've argued with every one of these people under the sun. I have many friends who believe this nonsense or pretend to believe this nonsense because they're like, the base is the ones who wanted to believe it. Look, they don't care, and they'll never tell you the truth. AP just finished a final vote tally on it. Disputed ballots, not proven fraudulent ballots, but disputed ballots currently represent 0.15% of the Biden victory margin in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. So
it's literally 475 ballots
that's my thing,
that they
Krystal,
found.
They don't care. They literally don't care. It's all fake. It's all just because Trump said so. Like, oh, I heard this guy who said this one thing. Okay. I mean, fine. I mean, I just wish they were more honest. And they were like, yeah, Trump is a liar. He convinced everybody that that it was false. And so we have to say the lies in order to win. That's empirically true. But look, they're complete liars, phonies. This will be a noose around the neck for the GOP of a long time. They don't think so. They're like, oh, because of inflation, all this stuff. Just wait. Trump runs again. And if it gets close, what's going to happen? And as Hugh pointed out, if you think you morons are going to triumph in the end, just wait till some Rachel Maddow moron comes to the top of the Democratic Party and they're like, actually, the election was stolen from me. And they're a lot more competent and they may actually do it. In terms of, you still want to set the precedent about decertifying Electoral College? You just wait and see how that plays out 25 years from now. But they don't care because they're idiots. And that's why I don't want to associate with any of these people anymore.
Well, and here's the other sad part is there were some parts of the Trump agenda that I was radically opposed to. There were some parts of it that were good.
Right.
You know, the pushing back on the bad trade deals.
Oh, yeah, globalization.
The pushing back on,
opioids,
you know, Afghanistan and Iraq and our entanglements in the Middle East, our illegal wars. Like some of those instincts that he ran on were actually good, let alone drain the swamp. Of course, he turned out to be, he did none of it. I mean, he did none of it. And so instead of any sort of agenda that might be good for working class people, this is what you get. This is the only litmus test that matters now in the Republican Party is how far you're willing to go on Stop the Steal and tell Trump what he wants to hear. Same dynamic playing out down in Georgia. And, you know, look, election's not over yet. And actually Kemp's polling wasn't quite as bad as I expected it to be. But it's going to be very difficult for him, an incumbent Republican governor, to survive a primary because he wasn't willing to go full Stop the Steal. Yeah. It's a sad place to be.
Great country. Love living in it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One more for you later. Hey, guys. Thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut. Our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions. All that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.